Welcome to What to Do When, a podcast for when you're feeling a little lost, low, or lonely in life. This is a space for honest conversations about just how damn terrifying, messy, and confusing life can be. Figuring out who you are, healing your wounds, finding the right partner, building an amazing career, it's a lot. We're going to open up, unpack, and normalize all the big, complicated emotions and struggles in life. The anxiety, the self-doubt, the overwhelm, and the other spirals it's so easy to fall into. Because I find that the more that we open up and get real, the more we can learn, and the less pressure that we feel to have it all figured out and to be perfect all of the time. And this is the sweet spot where healing happens. So let's get into it. This episode is about what to do when you're doing everything right, but you still don't feel like enough. And I just got to be so honest here that this is often me. There's still that part of me that quietly whispers in moments that I'm not enough, that I'm not doing enough, that I'm not being enough. And it's a really freaking tiring place to be. And I know that it's a relatable experience, and I know that we share it. And so today I want to jump into the roots of this, and we're going to go over a few things, but mostly I want to hit home the point of how you can support yourself through this process so that it doesn't continue to overtake your mind and to stop you from being able to be proud, content, happy, compassionate, and kind towards yourself, and to use this to be able to keep going after the life that you want, but not from a place of I'm not good enough, so I have to achieve more, but instead, how can you shift that to I'm always good enough, and I want to keep pursuing these things because they bring me joy. That's a big difference. Living your life from a place of fear and not enoughness versus from a place of I'm always enough, I'm always going to be enough, but I'm a human being who wants to pursue things, and I'm going to go after it no matter what, and I'm going to give myself permission to fuck it all up sometimes. That's the shift that we're working on today. So if that's you, I think you know who you are. Welcome. Welcome to this fun place for us to be. Let's slow down for a second, because this is really the heart of what I want to explore today. I want to tell you a story about a young girl who was praised and celebrated every time she achieved something. Every time she got a goal in netball, she was celebrated. She was taken out for ice cream. She was told by her friends and her family she did such a good job. Every time she got into the smart kids class at school, she was celebrated, she was acknowledged, she was seen, she was heard. And every time she did well at something, be that academic stuff, be that dance, performance, be it including someone, making a new friend, be it sport, she was celebrated, she was given time and energy and effort. And not just by her parent, but by everyone around her as well in society. And that's just what we do. And this, telling you this story is not about blaming anyone. It's about acknowledging the environment that so many have grown up in. And surprise, surprise, that girl was me, but it's also someone that I share a very similar story with so many of my one-to-one clients, because it is the world that so many of us grew up in, where achievement meant you got something in return. When you were good at something, when you were smart at something, when you achieved something, when you did something nice, you were seen and you were celebrated and you were acknowledged and you got attention. And the learning from this from such a young age, if you grew up in that environment as well, and again, there's nothing wrong with it, but the learning very quickly, right, is that when I achieve, I get more love. When I achieve, I get more connection. When I achieve, I feel good. I get validated, And that is a really, really addictive cycle to become part of at such a young age. And I don't know about you, but for me, for most of my life, I have feared failing. I have feared failing at something not because I'd be disappointed in myself, but because there's a voice in my head that tells me if I fail at something, or if I decide that I don't want to do something that I should be doing, or if I go down a different road, if I fail at something, the people that I love the most are going to reject me or abandon me. They're going to be disappointed in me. They're going to judge me. They're going to be smiley to my face, but behind my back, they're going to say, God, she's weak. God, she's not good enough. God, why does she keep doing this? She's such a loser. And what's interesting about having a fear of failure is it means that sometimes you don't even try. So you can get stuck in this cycle of living within your protective comfort zone where you stay in the same job, you repeat the same things, you never push yourself because you're afraid to fail, so you just stay where you are. Or you can end up feeling this massive sense of perfectionism, pressure, anxiety, and overwhelm. So when you do try, you feel like you have to get everything perfect before you're even, before it's allowed to even be deemed enough or to be seen by people. So it's ironic because it can mean that you never try in the first place, or it can mean that you just push yourself to the absolute max and limits when you do try. And that is a funky little game that I've played most of my life, and it's difficult, and it all stems from this myth that I think so many of us believe, and this is the first point that I want to hit here, is that I think most of us have this belief that there is such a thing of feeling enough, and this belief that when you hit a certain milestone or you achieve a certain goal, you will finally feel insert desired emotion here. And when I look back to my late teens and early 20s, that was, if I achieve X amount of weight loss, I will feel confident, sexy, attractive, and I will get the relationship and the love that I want. And I will feel desired. I'll feel enough. And then that transitioned from being that in my early 20s, and it started turning into more career focus. It started shifting into, if I achieve X in my business, if I make 6 figures the first year in my business, I will feel successful, safe, secure, admired, and I will get the respect and the attention and I don't even know what else, but the something that part of me desires. I think if you get really honest with yourself here, and I always really strive in this podcast to not bombard or overwhelm you with information, because you can get enough of that in any book out there or any other podcast out there. I always try really hard to get you, the listener, who, I'm speaking to you right now. So if you're off in a daze, come on back. But I always try and get you to actually think and reflect, because that's where that real change starts to happen. What is your version of this myth of enoughness? What is your belief that a certain part of you holds, that if you achieve X, you'll get Y? What is that thing that your sort of brain is saying, if you just get this, then you will feel enough, then you will feel good about yourself. It will fix everything. What is that thing for you? Like, genuinely, what is that thing? And how and when did you learn that? Who did you learn it from? And if we look at the cultural conditioning that we live in this world, is that achievement, productivity, weight loss, promotions, burnout, all of that equals worthiness. It equals enoughness. It equals getting external validation. This is the second point that I want to hit. So when we talk about this constant, never-ending cycle that, I don't know, you might feel like you're on this hamster wheel right now. I certainly feel it from time to time, where I feel like I'm just shifting from one goal to the next. And when I have that moment of vulnerability in myself, that little spiral where I start to feel and question, am I doing enough? Am I enough? I'm falling behind on my timeline. I should be married with kids. It is so fucking uncomfortable to sit and meet the part of you that does not feel good enough. It's awkward, right? It's awkward and uncomfortable to even acknowledge that there is a part of you that doesn't feel good enough. And that part of being human is that we're always going to have that. We're always, and especially the world that we live in, where we have been brainwashed into believing that achievement and productivity equals worthiness, enoughness, success. There's always going to be a part of us that feels inadequate or unworthy because of this. It is part of being human, and it's awfully fucking uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable now even talking about it. I can feel it in my throat, and I wonder what that's like for you. I wonder, have you ever met that part of you that goes back to the drawing board, that gives you one goal after another, the endless hamster wheel that you can never freaking get off? And the truth is that you can live your life in one of two ways. You can live your life asleep on that hamster wheel where there's always something more that you could be doing, where you don't acknowledge that there is a part of you that doesn't feel good enough. You instead try to put a band-aid over that pain every single time, and you jump back on that hamster wheel and you find something else to steer yourself towards, to give you purpose, to give you motivation. And you quietly try to convince yourself that when you do achieve that goal, if you just do a little bit more, you'll feel better. You can live your life like that asleep, or you can live your life like this awake, where you decide that you have to get off this hamster wheel, that no amount of achievement will ever cure this very human part of you that feels inadequate from time to time. There is no solve. There is no amount of stuff that you can check off your list. And believe me, I know, because being on this side, working with clients, is such a privilege. And here's why. I have the privilege of meeting and talking to people who have all sorts of different experiences. I will talk to the people who have the coolest job in the world, most amazing relationships, and yet they still struggle with this. And in turn, I'll also talk to people who maybe by society's standards, they're behind on their timeline and they don't have some of those things, but they're fucking happy because they're awake and they're pursuing things that are meaningful to them without it being purely attached to their sense of self-worth and identity. And that is so cool, because it's given me and my brain, and I now hopefully I'm passing this on to you, it gives me the proof that there is nothing on my list that is ever going to get rid of the part of me that doesn't feel enough. I'm always going to have those moments. And it's so ironic because there's a version of me, 20-year-old me, 15-year-old me would look forward to my life today. And there might be a few things that they would change, but you know what? Mostly they would be so effing excited and proud. They would be so happy and so like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing that. There's always a past version of you that will celebrate where you are right now, that would give anything to be where you are right now. But yet for some reason, part of being human means that we can never sit in a level of contentness, in a level of being accepting and okay with where we are. And that's why so much of this inner work and healing is practicing that, because we don't get taught to accept where we are and to separate our achievements from our levels of self-worth and our identity. We don't get taught that as children. As children, we get taught to attach those two things. We get taught, I am only as good as my achievements. I'm only as successful as the goals that I tick off, as my job title, as the number in my bank account, as my weight, as my looks. That's what we get taught. And all of this work, I feel like, is unlearning that. So what is really going on beneath the surface of being someone who feels like they're stuck on that hamster wheel and having those moments? What's going on beneath the surface? And I want to share with you that the real issue here, when we have this big, huge sense of inadequacy and we decide to jump on that hamster wheel again and go after another goal, it's so, so funny. And we have to remember that that's part of being human. And the real issue that this brings up here is that there are young parts of yourself that are still stuck in that cycle of trying to earn love, safety, and validation. And when we're stuck trying to earn that stuff, right, we end up abandoning ourselves. We end up not being who we really are. We end up being inauthentic. We end up burning out. We end up pushing ourselves to achieve things that don't actually matter to us, but for some reason we think it might matter to someone else. We end up living a life that feels unrecognizable to us. And this is where you can sink into a depressive state of what the hell is the point? Why am I even doing this? Or you can shift into panic, overwhelm, and anxiety. And it's a really, really tough place to be when there's just a part of you that just yearns for external validation. Genuinely think about here how easy it is to be proud of someone else and how hard it is to be proud of yourself. I was about to say, oh, maybe that's just me, but I really do know that so many of us struggle to be proud of ourselves, but yet so damn easy. Think about how easy it is to give praise to other people. Think about how easy it is to, like, for example, if me and you were in a room together right now and I was sharing with you how I feel so behind on my timeline, I'm imagining that for most of you, you would say to me really kind things. You would reassure me. You would say all these things and all these reasons that I might have to be proud of myself. And if I were to turn around and ask you to do the same thing, how hard would that be? It's fucking hard, right? To be proud of yourself, to validate yourself. It's difficult because we're not taught this from a young age, but you can teach yourself this now. What do you do from here, right? And this podcast is called What to Do When. So I want to give you something to do. I want to give you something to explore. If you are this person that I've been speaking to and you're stuck on this fucking never-ending hamster wheel that's just not going anywhere, but you always find yourself finding something else to achieve, finding another thing that you can hit or tick off your list in order to feel enough, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start exploring what that thing is. What do I think I need to achieve before I can feel worthy, before I can love myself, before I can feel proud? What is that thing that you have in your head that you feel like you need to achieve in order to be good enough? For me, it is a successful, lasting relationship and to break the cycle that I personally am in of having children where a father is not present, being a single mother, which I want to reiterate, there is nothing wrong with that, and that's been part of my journey. But that wounded part of me that doesn't feel good enough, that's the thing. That's what they say. That's what they say I need to achieve. And that's the deepest one. The surface level one is I need to earn a certain amount of money and achieve a certain amount of success in my business and my life. But when I go deep and when I hit hard, it's that. What's your version? What's your version of this? What does that wounded part of you say that you need to achieve in order to feel finally enough? What is that? And when you figured that out, I want you to explore whose voice is behind that feeling. Who is saying those words to you? What part of you is controlling that narrative? And I really want you to invite in some massive curiosity here about the part of you that believes you need to do this or you need to achieve this in order to finally be enough. I really want you to meet this part of you, to get to know this part of you. I do have a free 5-day inner child healing challenge that is a really cool place to start. One of the practices inside that challenge is about learning to validate yourself. I will make sure that I put the link for that in the show notes as well on how to access that, because there's this whole part of you that carries that belief that they're not good enough. I do genuinely think this is part of being human, one of the toughest parts of being human, and I wish I could say to you, here, do XYZ, follow XYZ method, and you will get rid of that part of you that doesn't feel good enough. But the truth is, this is something that we're all going to carry for most of our lives. It is part of being human, and it's okay. It doesn't have to feel like a hamster wheel that you can't get off of, though. There is support, and there are tools, and there are ways that you can work with this part of you. And this part of you, it just needs your love. It's, again, been brainwashed that achievement equals enoughness, and it needs your love, and it needs your support, and it needs your presence. And this is the part of you that you get to learn to work with and to acknowledge and to meet in order to be able to live the life that you really want. In order to be able to get to a place where you can have a dream, go after that dream, give yourself full permission to fuck it up, and still be okay. Part of being human is having goals and always having things that we're working on. It gives us purpose. It gives us strength. But when it comes from a place of, oh my God, I'm so freaking empty without that achievement, that's when it becomes dangerous to not only your self-worth, but your mental health, your emotional health. And this is what really matters. It's really, really, really what matters. So if all of this is you, those are the two things I want you to explore. This is your homework from this podcast coaching session, if you will. What do you think you need to achieve before you can feel worthy? And what part of you or whose voice is that behind that feeling? Who is saying that? How old are they? What do they need? Do some of this work with this part of you and get really curious about it. If you could meet that person, that part of you, if you could meet them in real life, what would they be like? What have they gone through? What have they learned? What have they experienced? Who has told them that they're nothing without achieving this thing? And how can you support that part of you with love and acceptance and kindness so that you can get to this place where you might fall into that hamster wheel from time to time, but you also know how to get off it and you know how to bring yourself back. So if you've been stuck in that spiral too of chasing more to finally feel like you're enough, just please know that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. This is part of being human, this desire, this ever-evolving thing to keep getting more. But the reminder here, and what I hope hits home for you today, is that you do not have to live from that place 24/7. Yes, it's a part of being human, and yes, it's going to come up from time to time, but you can start to slowly work on shifting out of this pattern and this habit of thinking. And I really do wonder what would happen for you, or what would change if you stopped trying to earn success, love, validation from things outside of you, from your achievements, from your goals. What would happen if you decided that you were enough in this moment, and then from that place you started thinking about, what do I really want to achieve and pursue that's meaningful to me, instead of I need to run a half marathon just so I can put a band-aid over that part of me that doesn't feel enough. I need to get a promotion because then other people will be proud of me. Imagine what life would be like if you started living from a place where you were actually tuned in to your desires and your passions for what truly means, something to you, like what you're truly passionate about. And in parts work, this is called connecting to your self energy, your capital S self. In other modalities or in a different language, you might hear it referred to as your true self, your highest self, your most authentic self. But it is sort of that ability to get really, really, really close to you and your heart and what's important to you, to drown out the noise of what you think you should be doing or trying to please others, or parts of you that are wounded trying to seek a little bit of external validation through your goals and your achievements. and instead getting clear on what's super important to you and what you really want to be pursuing, that shift is entirely possible, and it happens in really small moments, and it might feel like a really big impossible thing to do right now. And so if that's you, I want you to listen to me right now that is perfect and normal and okay, and it doesn't happen overnight. It does happen in small moments, and it's not going to look perfect. It's going to look like you sitting there with yourself and going, wait, hang on, do I really want to be putting my energy into this, or am I doing it to please someone else? Am I doing it just to feel like I've got something to do, something to tick off the list? And pausing in that moment and asking yourself, what do I need? What do I need to hear from myself right now? What validation can I give myself right now? And this is where that inner child healing challenge is really powerful. There's a practice in there about learning to give yourself internal validation, which again is something we're not taught. I will put the link to that in the show notes for you to listen to as well. The final thing I just want to touch on that I completely forgot to actually, because I've gone off of some of my notes here, but it was this it's not a meme, it's just a quote that I saw a couple of weeks ago. You might have seen it as well, but it's to do with timelines, and it reads, girls in their 30s be like, oh my God, I'm so behind, but they've healed their inner child, they've stopped people pleasing, they've left that toxic job, they've started therapy, they've found joy in being alone, they've found joy in travel, and they actually like themselves. If you're someone that's doing this work and you feel like you're behind on your timeline, this inner work is invaluable. Your mental health is invaluable. Your relationship with yourself is invaluable. And I know that this topic of not feeling enough is a tough one, but it is so worth exploring, because this relationship with yourself that you have with all these parts of you, man, do they set up all the other relationships in your life? They're the foundation of them. So explore this, do this work. And if you want help and support with this, I am only a moment away. I've got one spot left in Heal for this month, for the month of May, and send me a DM. I will put the link in the show notes to access information on that program, as well as information on the Inner Child Healing Challenge, which again, incredible place to start meeting that part of you that learnt from a young age to rely on external validation in order to feel good enough. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to see you next Monday as well. I'd love to hear your feedback on the episode, what you're getting out of it, what you're taking away, what you're changing, what you're shifting, what thoughts it's sparking for you. Have an amazing, amazing day, and just remember, you are always doing enough. You are always being enough. You are just enough just because you are. You do not have to earn anything, and you can get off that freaking hamster wheel. Please do.